What is the core foundation of your business? I bet you have a vision and a passion for your business, but do you have systems in place to achieve your goals that are in alignment with your foundation? Clarity of time, services, ideal customer base or niche, your offerings, goals for your income, and pricing. These are all foundational considerations to running a business that you feel comfortable in and that attracts and keeps happy clients. Imagine the ideal way you want your business to run, and then putting systems in place that are aligned with that vision. This is the consummate freelance business structure. My guest today is Julie DeLuca Collins. She is a business coach who works with entrepreneurs to plan and strategize how they run their business. She addresses not only the services they offer, but how they're delivered. Today, Julie talks about how to reverse engineer your business goals to see how you are actually doing business. She talks about creating a plan that embraces your best strategies and business practices, and about developing daily habits that keep you from becoming overwhelmed. Julie tells us the top 2 things she sees freelancers doing that are working against them, and she shares 2 next steps for all of us to do to assess why our business is where it is, for better or worse. Here we go. Welcome to the Web Pro Savvy Podcast. This is your host, Kathy Servatka. S as in Sam, I-R, V as in Victor, A-T-K-A. All right, Julie, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kathy, for having me. I am thrilled to be able to be here with you today.
Oh, I'm so happy to have you. We had such a great conversation, and I got so excited about the things you were talking about because they're business. And for those of us freelancers who run our own business and we know how to do web stuff, maybe don't know how to do the business stuff so well, and could use a few pointers. So this is going to be a good episode, I think.
Well, thank you again. And, I geek out at having these conversations. It's sort of I've discovered is my little ikigai to have. It's what I'm passionate about, is what I love doing, is it lights me up and I'm good at it. So, it's a great thing in conversation that we'll have.
That's really cool. Thanks. So can you tell us a little about your professional background and what got you to where you are now?
Well, let's see. I will tell you that I have been an entrepreneur at heart. My first business was when I was 12 years old, and I'm not going to go into a long detail on it. However, I went the traditional route. Most people have a path that they want to follow, and I decided, well, I'm going to be a teacher. And I have families, members that have been teachers, and it was just the thing that I saw myself doing. And I started teaching preschool, kindergarten, and I loved it. I had a lot of fun, but it was exhausting. And there was a piece that was missing. And I thought, there's got to be more. And I got another job working as a junior high youth minister at my church. And I love that. I love middle school kids, love them. And people either love them or hate them. And that was a really, incredible time for me to learn a lot about creating long-term plans, creating a curriculum, being able to then organize a team of volunteers, organize events. So that was a great experience. And then I didn't know what I wanted to do after that. I eventually was hired by a national educational company. One of the things that they looked at is that I had retail experience. And I was, again, another one of my experiences is I was an assistant manager for one of the largest retail chains, Federated Department Stores, Macy's. And I loved doing that. And I learned a lot about profitability, about products, about marketing, and all of that helped me when I was recruited for this educational company. I came in to be a center director for a tutoring company. And I love the fact that I can meld my retail experience and sales with my educational background. And also I was making an impact in the lives of the people that we were serving. I went for the first couple of years and learned the business and grew through the ranks, became very successful, one of the top performing centers. And then I got promotion after promotion. I spent over 10 years with that company, and it was an incredible experience because they had a purpose in not only servicing students, but also to grow people from within, to mentor them, to help them. This company is also a franchise company. So I learned a lot about opening a business. What does it take to have a business plan? What are your marketing dollars? How do you create a marketing plan, a sales plan? How do you make it work together? How do you create an operational system? So all of that was, again, things that were like depositing knowledge and experience into my belt. I left that organization because I was recruited for another multi-million dollar company that was in the education space. She was the owner and founder, was someone who started to make a difference. And she was a teacher, but didn't have the business know-how. And she knew that I brought that to the table. She was looking to expand. She was making the type of money and income that, she was a multi-million dollar company, but she wasn't running it as you should. So her growth had become stagnant. And that's where my expertise came in. I was with that company for many, many years, and I grew with the company. The company continued to expand. We expanded to many different states, and I loved the work that I was doing. By the time I left that company, I was the Chief Innovation Officer. And the reason that the title sort of was one that talked about I was into the development of new business, but I was also in the operations of the existing business. I was not, I straddled both of those. I had been also thinking for many years, because as I was developing new programs for the company, that I wanted to do more in helping women. And my goal was that sometime in the future, I was going to leave and maybe not retire, but I was going to pivot to working with executives, working with women in the corporate world. Because one of the things that I kept hearing from individuals as I grew through the ranks of multiple companies is, wow, that's right, great, congratulations. I wish I was as confident as you are. And I thought, you don't know. I am not that confident. And yes, there is a level of confidence, but I don't always feel it. I don't always have it together. I don't always know. But the thing that is that catalyst for me is that I keep going. I don't stay in place. When I don't feel confident, I take the first step, and that motion creates the momentum to build my confidence, because I practice, I fail, I innovate, I change, I become better. So that has been really what the journey has been. Now, at the beginning of the pandemic, I got the call. My company was hit incredibly hard with schools closing down. And they had to make the tough decision that a couple of us in the executive suite had to be offered a separation package. And at first I thought, oh, I know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to help women in this corporate career and become more confident and grow in their careers, et cetera. So I set out to do coaching in that. I had gotten, again, coaching certifications throughout the years, mainly for my own edification. And as I started to work with women and help them in their career, I started to get a lot of people come to me and said, hey, I know that you worked with a company. Do I need an LLC to start a company? Hey, I don't know what email marketing is. How do I do that? Or, wow, how do I price myself? And I thought, oh, this is something that comes really easily to me. I love to talk about. I love creating the strategy and plans. And then all of a sudden, my business started to evolve to doing more of the business coaching, because productivity, time management, the skills of strategizing and building a clear, concise plan for your business and how you're going to run it, not only in the sales and marketing, but also in the delivery of services. It's something that I'm incredibly passionate about. So this is how I got here. A long road, but every experience has deposited into my knowledge bank that allows me to be better at what I do.
Wow. Yeah, I feel like a lot of us have that kind of path to where we are now. We didn't take the straight path our parents or, grandparents used to take, where it's like you had the same job out of college, you went till you retired, boom, that was it. I think I read something that said we have like 5 to 7 different careers in our lifetime at this point.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
yeah. So that's really cool. So now I know how you became a business coach, which makes sense because you have a ton of business background, and I love that. Um, Now, when we talked before, you mentioned something about core foundational elements in a business, especially freelance business, as we're talking to freelancers. So, what I want to say is or are, what are core foundational elements, or do we have one core foundational element for the business? What is that?
Yeah, just so you know, one of the things that I tell individuals is that you really have to reverse engineer your success. For many freelancers, entrepreneurs, you have a vision and you have a passion and you have a great skill set, but you don't understand how they kind of meld together and can work together. And the most important thing is if you have the vision, you want the time freedom, you want the income freedom, right? What does that mean? Understanding really, if I want to have time freedom, what does that mean? How many hours do I want to work? When do I create that intentional margin so that I don't leave a job that was overworking me to all of a sudden working 24/7 in my own business, right? So having that clarity, number one. Number two, also, it's important for you to know that if you have a goal for income for your business, you need to pay your bills, or you want to have extra income to be able to travel, save into your retirement. What does that mean on a practical manner? How many clients do you need to have? What is the right way to price yourself to create packages so that you're not working trading dollars for time, you in hours, like most you're not an hourly person, but you're someone who is working on a per project basis, and then you are creating systems that not only continue to bring in new people by making them aware and you nurturing the relationships, but you also, as you're delivering services, and this is where a lot of entrepreneurs go wrong, you get into delivery mode. All of a sudden, you have an influx of clients. Oh, great. Everything is wonderful. I have an influx of clients. Let me go and do the work. Let me design the thing. Let me do this. And yet they stop doing the work that is required to continue to bring more people in, create continued awareness, strengthen the relationships, and build that know, like, and trust factor that is incredibly important for us to have in order to grow our practices, our businesses, our side hustle, whatever it might be when it comes to doing this freelance stuff.
So, clarity of time, goals for your income, and then systems in place.
Absolutely. Clarity in what you do, what you offer, who do you serve? And I think that this is the other thing that many people get stuck on. They don't ask, is this something that people want? We assume that just because we're good at it, that that's what people are looking for. Number two, having the clarity of who is your person. My mentor, Pat Flynn, says the riches are in the niches. And we hate that. Like, I have to niche down. And by the way, I've been there. I've been like, oh, I can help any entrepreneur. The problem with that is that when we don't have clarity on a very specific segment of who we serve, then we're speaking to so many different people that our message is not clear enough. You're speaking to everyone, you're speaking to no one. So it's very important. And for me, that was a turning point in my business. I remember thinking, well, I'm a coach. I'm a holistic coach. I do mindfulness. I can do business. I can do career coaching. So there were so many different layers. When I talked about what I did, nobody understood what I was doing. There was no clarity. And I felt, and again, this is that scarcity mentality. I felt like if I picked one, if I talked to one segment, that I would not get any business because I was kind of crossing out and saying, okay, not you, not you, not you. But what has actually happened, Kathy, and I think that this is really important, I actually am able to service more people because there's clarity. And yes, my ideal person, the person that I serve, is that woman entrepreneur who is overwhelmed, maybe in midlife, and is not sure what comes first, second, or third. And they're working in their business, but not on it. They're not growing it. They still don't have consistent income from time to time. They're worried about whether or not they're going to be a success, right? They stay up at night and think, okay, I need this. And then they download the free thing and then they're not sure what to do. And they have so many downloads. They're get confused. Like, I should do this. I should do that. That's the person, right? However, if you look at my client roster, I have male entrepreneurs. I also work with incredible, gifted professionals who are in the career space and still need some coaching. And again, it has given me the freedom to be able to decide, yes, I can work with this person. I can serve them. I can support them and how to be able to design better services.
Okay. Well, I resonated with everything you said, and shout out to Pat Flynn because I also have followed him for years and years, took a couple courses with him. He is very smart and very successful. So
yes, I've been incredibly fortunate to be part of his membership, and I've been on his show. He's actually done some coaching that helped my business as well in the expansion as well. So yes, you need to surround yourself with individuals like this show is giving you a lot of content, is giving you individuals that have been there. So pick wisely, pick the places where you can gain the support in this journey.
okay. Wow. That's really good. That's a lot to chew on. And so those foundational elements, for someone who didn't take business courses except for here and there, how does a business strategy work then in your foundation? Like, what is a business strategy first? And how many do we have?
That is and here's my perspective, and this, some people may disagree with me, but I really think that number one, you need to be clear on, again, what the goals, what you want to accomplish. Like, if you want to, for me, my first goal was to replace my corporate income. That was the first goal. So then deciding, like, okay, if I want to replace my corporate income, what does that amount to per month? Right. And then deciding, like, okay, if this is the amount of income I want to bring in, what are my offers? Be very clear on what you're offering. And if you're a service provider, you're building websites, or you're a copywriter, again, you want to be clear as to what your pricing is. And this is one of the things that I actually go into a little more in depth with my clients, is deciding, like, what are your expenses? What's your overhead? And then creating pricing that is that fits within the market demand, right? But also that gives you profitability and allows you to pay yourself first. So that's part of the strategy, is understanding what you're going to offer, how much you're going to offer it for, and what time frame do you have to deliver this. And then you start to create that customer journey, understanding how people find you, understanding how people start to interact with you, understanding in how people then build a closer bond to you and start to say, oh, she's really good. I need that. Right. And then how do you, and you need to have a process for, and this is part of the strategy, is how do you then invite people to work with you? Do you have somewhere in your website where they can just click and purchase a service? Or do you have to have a conversation with them? Or do you send a proposal? All of that is part of the strategy that you need to create. And then as you're moving along, here's where people go wrong. They create a strategy, they start to implement it imperfectly, because we're all going to implement imperfectly. And then they don't have the results they want, and they start to become overwhelmed. They kind of tune out. They're like, it's not working. It didn't, I've been doing this and it's not working. Instead of continuing to stay your course, measure progress, and give yourself the grace that you've come very far. I have a client who started her business and she's been moving along. She's talking to people, she's networking. And by the way, I want to say social media followers are not clients. However, social media is a great way for people to become aware of you. So she's built an incredible community so far that are following her, interacting with her stuff. So again, all of these are part of the attraction and engagement strategy for her business. But she is trying to launch a website and she got stuck on actually what should she say on her website, right? So she started to spiral. Overwhelm came in, and instead of working the plan, then all of a sudden 3 days go by. She hasn't worked her business and she's like feeling bad about herself because she's not Oh, I'm not a success. I'm going to step back. And then the more that she steps back and it's in this overwhelm, the more that she's not working on her business and the more that her business is not moving forward. That the strategy of creating the daily habits, the daily to-dos that move you closer to the goals that you have is incredibly important as well.
Daily habits. That's really the key to life. I feel like it's true, and it's true
Yes.
in life. It's true in business for sure. So daily,
Yeah.
does the strategy then, is that something, first of all, is it something you document? Do you document your
Absolutely.
strategies? Okay.
Absolutely. A track number grows. A track number is something that, and again, people, for instance, I'm going to give you an example. You may have a weight loss goal and you're like, I want to lose 10 pounds. So you weigh yourself the first week, you've lost a pound. You weigh yourself the second week, you gain 2. You come to the third week and you're still working at kind of losing weight, but you stop weighing yourself, right? And you stop tracking. And all of a sudden you're not in the food plan or in the health journey that you were. You're starting to look at what's new, what can I do, this is not working. Whereas if you consistently know that numbers and data is just data, it's just informing you, is giving you a direction and allowing you to recalibrate if need be, right? And then if you continue the process, then those numbers are going to help to guide you in the right direction. For me, the times, and it's very easy when I don't track certain metrics in my business, you can see that we're kind of a little bit off the rails. So having the right metrics, the key performance indicators, and those key performance indicators is not a reflection of who you are. So many times we assign our value to the numbers or whether or not we're making the numbers. Our value doesn't come from that. The numbers are not good or bad. They're just neutral. So knowing that your value comes from maybe that interaction you had with that client where you delivered something for them that they really needed. Keep track of that. Keep track of your wins. These things help to improve your confidence, help to keep you motivated to keep going, and allow you to then continue to practice the habits, the daily habits that make a change in your life and business. So yeah, keep track of those numbers.
Okay. All right. That's really good. So the strategies that we document and we track metrics, which makes sense. I love the weight analogy. That makes sense to me. We talked about systems. So you need to have systems in place to make the strategies happen.
Yes. And systems, by the way, a lot of people, number one, shy away from routines, from the boring stuff in their business because it's boring. As entrepreneurs, we tend to be very creative. We like to do the fun stuff. However, that's not necessarily where you want to spend your time. Part of your plan as an entrepreneur is knowing specifically how you are spending your time, creating an ideal calendar for yourself, because there's going to be two types of tasks, especially if you're starting out, especially if you're solopreneur, a service provider that it's only you. You are both the marketing arm of your business, you are the sales side of your business, you're also the delivery, the service delivery, right? So you're going to have to create, and by the way, I used to think when I was in corporate and I started to kind of explore this concept for my life and my career, I thought having an ideal calendar would make it less, it would give me a less ability to be spontaneous. It would take away my freedom. However, having an ideal calendar actually provides me with more freedom. It allows me to be able to say, for instance, Friday, my ideal calendar, I don't work Fridays now. I'm moving away from working on Fridays. My business is only going to run Monday through Thursday. That was an intentionality. So if I'm only working 4 days, what are the priorities that need to happen? Delivery of services to my clients is number one. Number two, I want to go ahead and continue to market my business. Number three, I want to go ahead and continue to get people to be aware and nurture the existing relationships. So all of these things need to happen. So I have to then allocate time. Kathy, today is Tuesday. If you look at my calendar, in my ideal calendar, Tuesdays are podcasting days that I reserve for this type of endeavor, either recording with you or having people on my shows, right? So having that, I wake up on Tuesdays and I know exactly what my day is going to look like. On Wednesday, Thursdays, those are my delivery days, the times in which I work with clients. And maybe I have some networking events or other things worked in there. And then Mondays is where I plan my business. I do some networking, but I also do some of that creative writing. And what happens is I am setting up myself so that I am not running in this overwhelm, like, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to do? And then you're switch tasking because your brain can't go from doing something that is very right brain to something left brain. So understanding the different tasks and which ones allow you to create momentum, allow you to stay in flow is going to be very key. And the thing is, be aware as well that in these processes, if you're an entrepreneur, you need to document what you do and how you do it. Even if you are going to continue to be a solopreneur. But the reason you're doing it is because you're going to come to a point in which maybe you need to delegate a task, your social media or sending emails or your calendar. If you can delegate and have a process in which you're like, oh, I need to train that VA, my virtual assistant, and how to, do this. But oh my gosh, when am I going to find the time for that? I really need her to do this, but it's faster if I just do it, right? Document from the beginning. Film yourself. Use something like Loom in which you film yourself doing it. And then this way you have the process documented and then you make the task replicatable, and the ability to delegate it will give you the time back for you to then do what you do best.
Yeah. So it sounded like there's, again, so much. Everything you're saying is so great. It sounds like your schedule is sort of set up as batch processing. Like you've got today we do this, tomorrow I do this. Now for a web designer, that can be a little tricky just because we are so project based and customers, clients we work with, we're doing communications with them. It's not always scheduled. It's a little tricky sometimes, I think. So batch processing is something you could also say a half day. Here's 3 hours on Tuesdays that I do email marketing. And then the rest of the day I'm available for clients, or the rest of the day I'm working on project A, something like that.
Yeah. Kathy, here's a thing that I I want to share with you because what you just said, yes, the batch processing, maybe half a day is set for this, but also it's important that you, as the CEO of your life and business, you train people on the expectations on what your process is for things. If you are working on projects for individuals, for customers, yes, there's going to be that need to communicate. But here's what I'm going to encourage people: create the habits. So, for instance, for me, 9 a.m. is typically my processing time. What do I mean by processing? That's a time in which I've been awake. I've been doing a couple different things. I've been reading, that my little morning routine. But when I come to my desk, I open my calendar first and I look to see what's ahead of me. Number one. Number two, I go through my email, and that's the only time my email is open in the morning. Is I go through and I look through, okay, what are the things that I need to address right here, right now, that are a priority, right? Next, if there's something that is going to take me, and I said this to you earlier, if it's going to take me more than 3 minutes to do, that's not a response to an email. That's actually a task that goes into my to-do list. And that list is something I work off during that processing time. If I don't finish that, then it goes into my afternoon processing time as I wrap up my day. The thing about this as well is that we get to say, and by the way, I have tons of clients that are working on maybe launching a website or creating a process or have questions on something that we had. I make myself available to them. They can find me on Slack. We have a Slack channel. That's our internal communication. But I check Slack and they know, and this is the expectation I set with them. Hey, these are the times that you can expect to get a response from me. Also, I train them. If you need me, the best way, it's an emergency and you need me right away, is you text me because I will see that first. Number two, I will check Slack more than I will check email. And if you send me an email, then you can expect that I will get back to you within 24 hours of you sending the email. Having that expectation makes you the person who is in control of your calendar, as opposed to your calendar being in control of you.
I love that.
So that is going to be incredibly important.
Yeah, I love that. And I love the boundaries. I also especially love, and this is something I did learn early on in my own business, my own freelance business, is you have to train your clients. You have to train them in what to expect. Don't give them the reins. Tell them, this is how I work. This is how the project's going to go. This is how we communicate. And you set them up. Like you said, you give those expectations, then you can possibly do things like take your Friday off. Like, I don't work Fridays because these are my work days. Now, for email, for web designers, just because that was an example, I actually do check mine 3 times a day. I check in the morning first thing. I check in the middle to see if anything blew up.
Yeah.
And then again,
Yep.
and then again in the evening, just to see if, if there were, I just like to know what's going on. Most of my email, like the rest of us, is spam and all that kind of stuff. But, if somebody a client wrote me and I'm working on their project, I want to know what's going on. So
no, and you define that based on what your business is. I'm not sure if this was a reel or if this was a story in my Instagram, but you can actually go into, if you have Gmail, or I'm sure that you can do this also with your Outlook, but you can go in and you can create a rule. And I created this. So I set it up so that if an email has the word unsubscribe, it immediately goes into my delete, not my trash, but it goes into a delete folder. And this is not the promotions folder. And Gmail does that, and it creates the promotions folder. But I go in and I then look and I say, who do I really want to hear from here? And then on a weekly basis, I can go in and say, unsubscribe me from all of these, right? Or move them all into trash, right? So then I am not clogging my email. because we end up downloading the thing, signing up for this, sending this, and again, our inboxes can become out of control. And by the way, I want to put this out there because this is something that I read and that blew my mind. And the reality is that when you are working on something and you stop to check email or you stop to check a notification, my notifications are always off on my phone. When you stop doing and you get distracted, it takes you 17 minutes for you to get to the level of concentration that you were before you got distracted. So if you are working on a project and you have your email dinging every 2 seconds, you are pulling yourself out and you're not being as efficient as possible. So that's an incredible thing that people can kind of associate and see and start to measure and start to take small, tiny steps to change, to evolve from those habits that are not serving you.
Yeah, context shifting. Multitasking is not real.
No, not at all.
And that number of 17 minutes is huge. That's even more than I thought.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember seeing this, and I've seen it in so many different. I actually went through some. One of the books that I was reading actually had the citations, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go look at this, and I'm like, wow, it's 17 minutes. It doesn't seem like it's possible, but it is. That's what the research is telling us, and really, the reality is that we can get sidetracked so easily, especially because there's going to be things in your business that are hard. I had a task yesterday that I needed to do. I pushed it from my morning to the afternoon, and I was about to close out. And I thought, no, I need to do that. And I thought, well, it's going to take me forever. And oh my gosh, I don't know how to do it. And I have to figure it out. And by the way, I was talking myself out of getting started with it. And I said, you know what? I'm going to set a timer. I'm going to start working on it for 3 minutes. Whatever I can get done in 3 minutes, great. And if I do it, and who knows? And then I'll move on. But at least I've started it. In 3 minutes, my timer went off, and I was kind of in the groove. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to keep going. That's a little tiny habit, because if we want to rely on motivation to run our business, you're not going to be able to run your business successfully. You need to rely on habits that keep you going and that create the momentum.
Oh, I love that. Action creates motivation, doesn't it? Not the other way around.
Absolutely. And for many of us, skills, confidence, and motivation kind of feed off of each other. I'm a tiny habit certified coach. So I love talking about this behavior design. Number one is for us let's go back to the losing weight example. At the beginning of the year, everybody's like, I want to lose weight. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to get in shape, right? First of all, it's not a very clear goal. It's not very specific, but fine. You're going to get in shape, whatever that means. You're going to go to the gym that first week in January, and you're very motivated because it's a brand new year, new you, right? And you start working, you're at the gym for an hour every day, and you're like, oh, this is great. The second week, your child is sick, or you're sick, or something comes up. You don't go to the gym, and you're like, oh, I'll go after, or I'll do this. Then all of a sudden, life starts to happen. Your motivation, which is what got you started, is gone. And then the task is hard. When the task is hard, we don't want to jump into that. And then our brain starts to protect us, right? Our reptilian brain goes into, oh my gosh, you're going to be really sore if you go to the gym. Oh, forget it. You only have half an hour. It's not going to make an impact to go to the gym for half an hour. You were supposed to be there for an hour. That's what you committed to. Oh, you didn't go to the gym yesterday. Well, what's the point? You might as well stop going. That's how our brain works.
Yeah, I know that's how my brain works.
Yeah. And by the way, that's humanity. That's how all of our brain works. Our brain is programmed to keep us protected because that's how the evolution pattern, right? When we were in the caves, we were being protected from the saber-toothed tigers. And our brain would say, don't go outside the cave. Or what was that noise? Oh my God, you better be alert, alert, alert. Now we don't have to, but still, all of these things like working out of the gym, alert, 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 that's hard. It's hard. right? But if we say, hey, I'm going to make a commitment to go to the gym, and I'm going to go to the gym, and my goal is to just go in and I'm going to maybe do 10 reps of 2 exercises, right? Doable. Sometimes you're going to go and you're like, oh, I could probably stay a little longer. I could probably do a little bit more of this. The more that you start to see your success, the more that you're going to spend time doing the task. And that's where motivation starts to come in. But it's not going to come in when something is hard.
Yes, I can attest to that myself. But like you said, I think that's most of us, right? That's the human condition.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this has been great. Hey, what is the biggest mistake you see freelancers making?
The biggest mistake is definitely not prioritizing, right? And here's the thing. You make goals for your business. You want to have X number of clients. You want to, whatever it might be. But are your goals really aligned to your priorities, right? If my priority is to grow my business to X amount of income, right? And that means that I have to do this, this, and this to move my needle forward. And yet I don't schedule it. I don't make the time. I don't prioritize it. Then it's difficult to, and you're not congruent. You're telling yourself you want this, but you're not prioritizing. So you're in this cognitive dissonance that doesn't match. And then it robs you of your motivation and your confidence in doing the work. So that's number one. The other thing, and I know, as graphic designers, people that work in projects, this is a little harder, but here's what I want you to do when it comes to business, which is a higher level, right? The projects that you do for your clients, those are your delivery of services. But in business, you also have process-based goals and project-based goals. Many entrepreneurs spend their time doing the projects for their business. I'm going to launch a YouTube channel. I'm going to fix my website. I need to do a nurture sequence. Yes. Do they need to be done in your business? Of course, they need to be done, but figure out what the process is first. Set up the goals. I need to put myself out there in new podcasts so that people become aware of me. And my goal is that I'm going to do 2 podcasts per month. That's a process, right? And then you start to create actions that support that process goal. And then you can actually tangibly say, oh, look at how I'm moving the needle forward. And that's a lot of where entrepreneurs really struggle, that you're not prioritizing, your priorities don't match your calendar doesn't match your values, and you're all over the place and you are living by default instead of by design. You're running your business by shiny and by the seat of your pants, and you're not actually doing it in an intentional manner in which you can measure your progress and see the things that you're accomplishing.
You're living by default, not by design. So it's about everything has to be intentional.
Yeah, absolutely.
And congruent.
Intentionality changes everything. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's really good piece of advice. I was going to say, what then, I think I know the answer now, but what would be the number one thing that we should all run off and do right now when we're done listening? What should we do first for our business if we haven't already?
And I'm not sure when this is coming out, Kathy, but I think that this is an exercise that I do at the end of the year as I'm planning for my new year. I also encourage anyone that this is something that you can do anytime. I want you to go back and I want you to look at what your calendar looked like 3 months ago, because I can guarantee you that whatever was on your calendar is actually what is creating the results for your business today. Do a time audit. How are you spending your time? So if you are in these bunch of little projects, or you don't have any new people that you are getting in front of, and that was not something that was in your calendar, and maybe you don't have a lot of clients today, I can see that. So start to assess and go and audit your time. And number 2, create a clear vision, create the goals that get you closer to that vision, and then create the actions that move you closer to your goals. Those would be the things that I advise people to do right now.
Oh, that's great. I like all of this. I'm going to run off and do everything. I'm going to do my time assessment for sure. I need to audit my own time. And probably it's just something that would be one of those metrics that you want to be checking into anyway, I would think.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, your metrics, there's 2 types of metrics, and that's another conversation for another day. But you're going to have your leading metrics and your lagging metrics. How much revenue you brought in? That's a lagging metric. Leading metric is how many people did you present your program to? How many proposals did you send out? How many new people did you network with? That's leading. When you track your leading and you have specific goals for your leading metrics, then you're going to see your lagging numbers move.
Oh my gosh, that's so good. Oh my gosh, Julie, I could keep talking with you for hours. This is really good information. Thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome. I can't believe our time is done. You've been a great host. I really love, like I said, geeking out and talking about this. And it is very fun to be able to just provide individuals with maybe an aha moment here that will help them get closer to their goals and their dreams and living the life they've imagined.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. Thank you so much. We'll talk again soon. I hope we can talk again soon.
No, absolutely. Anytime. And thank you again for hosting us, Kathy.
If you're looking for that freelance inspo you need, subscribe to this podcast. Then share it with someone else, because who doesn't need inspiration?